5 Heavy, when you leave 3000, trim left at 180.
Hello guys, here we are on the concourse. We're looking at the Boeing 737 that we're going to take up to Orlando. Currently just after 0530 here at San Juan, and we're on gate 25, which is depicted here on our electronic flight bag on the other monitor. But what we'll do now is we'll jump on board and we'll start the pre-flight phase. We'll start getting the aircraft prepared, ready to depart the gate. We're looking for a departure of around about 0600. So I'll see you on the flight deck in a moment. So we're on the flight deck now, and we'll start preparations to get the flight underway. We'll just initiate the GSX services so we can get the caterers in to load up the aircraft with tea, coffee and snacks. I'm now going to call for us to open the doors in a minute. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is going to load up the fuel and put our weight into the flight management computer, which is a little bit of gizmo down there. We'll put that in there now and go to our menu, load our fuel, and we look at our flight plan. Here's our flight plan that we produced back in the dispatch office, and we've got a summary of fuel and the weights that we're on. So we're looking at the release fuel, 11,074, so we'll load that into the aircraft. Like so, and we'll go to the payload and we'll put in our zero fuel weight, which is 60.7. That's it. Go back to that page there and get ready for the doors. So here's our ground services, baggage loaders waiting for us to start boarding, and here come the catering trucks. They're going to line up on the doors, forward end and down aft, and when they're in position you can open up the doors. I'll show you that. So it's asked us to open up the doors now, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Open up the forward door first, and then the aft door, and then you'll see staff bringing in the trolleys, loading up tea and coffee. We'll head back inside and get back in with our pre-flight. First thing we're going to do, we're going to go over to the overhead panel and we're going to check that the battery is on, and we'll make sure that our electric hydraulic pumps are off, which they are. We're on the ground power unit at the moment, so we'll put that switch there and we can see that we're drawing our voltages off the ground power unit. Position lights are steady, and I'll turn the wing and the wheel well lights on so that when the first officer goes out for his pre-flight walk around, you can see into those areas with a good inspection. Come down to the centre console, we're going to test our fire alarms. It's good. Arm our emergency exit lights. I'm going to go up to one up here, test our airspeed warning and stall warning. Our leading edge devices and flaps, indicators. Okay, and we'll get the IRSs, start them to the alignment phase. And that's asking us to close the doors. The catering is finished, and test our oxygen. RS mode selectors are to nav. Clock, we're going to set the EPIS panel. Just here, so we'll put that down, range down to 5 miles. We'll put our flight path vector on, leaving our barometric pressure to inches because we're in the United States. Select our VORs, traffic, airport and data, and then when we go out to the runway we'll turn our weather radar on before we take off. I'll just go over and I'll set the first officers while he's out doing the walk round. Okay, now we're going to go down to the CDU, or the flight management computer, and we're going to start putting the flight plan in. The first thing we're going to do is go to flight management computer, and the first page we see there gives us some information that we need to make sure is correct. So we are indeed in a 737-800 with winglets, with our engine rating of 26k. Our nav data is currently up to date, and we'll go over and we'll start inputting the route. So we'll put our departure airfield in, which is Tango Juliet Sierra Juliet. Put that in the reference airport bit, and we go over to the second page. We can take this GPS position, go back, and then what we want to do is we're going to put that into the set IRS position, populate those boxes. So now the flight management computer knows where we are in the world, so now it can reference the flight plan from this position. We're going to go to the route, and again we're going to put in the origination airport in the top left, and we're going to go for the company route. That's what we saved in the flight plan when we did PFBX yesterday. So we'll put the flight plan in and we'll load it in. Now if we look here we can see that the flight plan has been put in. We've got a little bit to do for that, so we need to add the departure route in there. So go back to BitRef. I'm going to activate that and execute. I'm going to do the the departure, and as it said on the flight plan, we're going to be taking runway 08, and we've taken the Oconee 2 departure via the SAPO transition. We'll execute that. And we can move on to the performance initialization. I could put the arrival plan in there, but I'm going to leave that until later on when we get closer to the the top of descent, we can put that information in. So we'll leave that for the time being. We'll go back to the performance initialization. I'm going to put in our 0 fuel weight, and I'm going to put in our reserves. Today we're going to be taking 1.8 reserves. Our cost index is 26, and we're going up to 340, 34,000 feet, and I'm going to put in 11.1 for our planned fuel. If we have a look at Active Sky Next, we can get weather information there. Look at our flight plan. So that's 340, and refresh it. And let's go to the briefing. Okay, so we're looking at average wind temperatures at our cruising altitude is 286, that's 72. 36, 72, we'll put that up the cruise wind, and our temperature at the top of climb is going to be minus 43 degrees. Our transition altitude is correct, it's 18,000 feet, which is in the United States, so we'll execute that, and then we'll go to our N1 limit. So if we go over to the flight plan again, and the N1 limit page, this is where we're going to put in our derated takeoff information. And as we explained yesterday, we're going to be doing a derated takeoff 1 with an assumed temperature of 34 degrees, flaps 5. I'll show you how we put that into the flight management computer. So we're going to select our derate, which is takeoff 1. So we've got active next to that, and then we're going to put our assumed temperature in, 34 degrees, up the top left, and that's it. We go up to the engine display here, we can see that we've got derated takeoff 1 plus 34 degrees there. We'll select our flaps. We said we're going to be taking off with flaps 5. Put that in there. We'll get our centre of gravity trim, which is 5.4 units, and then we'll go over to the takeoff ref page, and again we'll go back to Active Sky Next. We'll have a look at the conditions. So we're expecting weather conditions is 404 knots. We've got 140 at 4 knots. We'll put that in there, 140 slant 4. Put that in the runway wind and go back, and then we've got our V speeds. Okay, so the flight plan calculated 147, 148 and 151. We've got it's a slight difference in the flight management computer, but we'll take the readings that have been generated by the flight management computer. We'll put our V1 in, 144. So remember, we could abort the takeoff any time up to and including the 144 knots. If we go Once we hit 144 and above, we must take the aircraft to the air. Our V rotate speed, which is what we'll be taking off at, is the 147, and our V2, which is maximum speed we can proceed if we lose an engine, is 152. So we've got our V speeds in, and that is the CDU setup. But what we'll do now is we'll start getting some passengers on board. And we'll request boarding. It's asking me to open the left entry door. Go back to the and you can hear the passengers starting to arrive now already. So get up to the overhead, put the seatbelt signs on. So that's our CDU pre-flight done, and we'll carry on with the pre-flight flow. We'll put our yaw damper on.
Good morning. Thank you.
Put our fuel pumps on.
Good morning. Good morning.
The window heat's on. Set our cabin temperature, that will be monitored by the cabin staff, and they'll inform us if they need it turning up or down throughout the flight. Our packs into auto, turn the APU bleed off. We'll turn the wing well and the wheel well lights off now. The first officer's back from his walk round, and we found the ignition in the left hand position, so we'll throw it over to the right hand ignition or engine start up. Set our flight altitude, we're going to be cruising at 34,000 feet. And our altitude at Orlando is about 95 feet, so we'll set that to 100 feet. Come back down, main control panel, set that up, we'll set our flight directors on, Mind Master and Slave. Set up our MCP courses and speed. So our speed will set to our V2, which is 152 knots. Heading to the runway heading, which was 080. And we'll put the altitude, I'll put that up to 18,000, which is the transition altitude. And we'll verify the bang handle set to 25. Put our auto brakes at RTO, which is rejected takeoff, so if we do abort the landing before our V1 speed, what we'll do is we'll pull the throttles back to the idle V10 position, and the aircraft will automatically engage brakes and will bring the aircraft to a stop. We'll reset our fuel flow switch down there. Standby instruments are set. We'll set our QNH, which is 2995. Ensure that our speed brake is down. Brake is down. Pocket brake is set. And our altimeters, so our transponder is set to 1. So that's that. We'll just do the brief with the first officer.
Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's going to be a standard pushback and start off from beginning. Taxi route will be assigned by ATC. It'll be a left seat takeoff using rated thrust, planning a Flaps 5 takeoff. Anti-ice will be off. In the event of a malfunction prior to V1, I will either call reject or continue. Standard low-speed reject procedures below 80 knots. Between 80 knots and V1, I will only conduct a high-speed reject in the case of an engine fire or failure, predictive wind shear warning, or if there's any condition that makes the aircraft unable or unsafe to take into the air. I will simultaneously close the thrust levers, disconnect the auto throttle, apply maximum manual braking or verify the operation of the RTO auto brake, apply maximum reverse thrust, verify the extension of the speed brake and bring the aircraft to a complete stop and set the parking brake. We will then run the appropriate checklist and evaluate our options. If you can monitor my actions and make the standard reject takeoff calls, including any abnormalities that you observe before advising ATC. For V1, or if the call is to continue, I will continue the takeoff as per standard company procedures. We will climb to the minimum sector altitude and track clear of local terrain. We are under our maximum landing weight, so we are okay to make an immediate return. All going well. The departure routing will be via the ATC assigned SID, complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. No noise abatement procedures required. Flight directors are on, minus master, yours a slave. Navigation radios are set. The NOTAMs and aircraft defect log have been reviewed. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
No questions.
Departure brief complete.
Okay, so we've done our brief with the first officer. What we do is if we go over to the other monitor, I'll show you the electronic flight bag and we'll put in the departure on there. Gives us a nice visual representation of the track out. So go to departure, we'll select our standard instrument departure. We're going off of runway 08 via the Oconee 2. And we're going to be going by the Sapo transition up to the northwest. Click OK and activate that, and there we go. You can see there's the departure route that we're going to be taking. And when we do our pushback, we're going to push back, put our nose facing left, and then we'll come out on this taxiway here, then pick up November, then onto Sierra, all the way down, and then we'll hold at Zulu or line it up onto runway 8 and take it off. We're waiting for the passengers to get on, and when they're on board, we can welcome them aboard, and then we can get on with the start checklist. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm just going to set our set our trim for takeoff, and in order to do that, I just need to let the ground crew know and get the permission to pressurise the hydraulics. Cockpit to ground. Cockpit to ground. Can we pressurise the hydraulics?
Roger. Clear to pressurize the hydraulics.
Okay, so we've been given permission to pressurise the hydraulics. So we're going to go over and we're going to turn our B pumps on, and we're going to turn our A pumps off in preparation for the pushback. So now we've got some hydraulic pressure. I'll show you that on our systems page. Look down here. There's our hydraulic, 2,770 pressure. Now we can set the takeoff trim. So we want 5.4 units. Is what the flight management computer has calculated. Spot on.
Thank you.
So the baggage has been loaded on now, and just waiting for the rest of the passengers. So what we'll do is we'll start the APU, get that up and running, warmed up, ready for the engine start. And we'll get the first officer to do that. Start the APU.
Starting APU.
Turn the APU on here, and now we're looking for this dial here to increase the exhaust gas temperature, and that chime there tells us that the passengers are now on board. Now while that's spooling up, we'll go down and welcome them on board.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, on behalf of the flight crew and staff, we want to welcome you aboard the aircraft and thank you for choosing us for your flight and travel carrier. If there's anything that we can do to make your flight more enjoyable, please ask the cabin crew. Thank you.
I'm going to call for the checklist.
APU is available.
Just before we call for the checklist, we'll put the APUs on. Generators, so now we've got the APUs powering the aircraft. We'll put our APU bleed valve on. So now we're going to call for the before start checklist. Before start checklist to the line, please.
Before start checklist to the line. Phones.
Off.
Off. IRS mode selectors.
Nav.
Gear pins.
Removed.
Light test.
Checked.
Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Yaw damper.
On.
Navigation transfer and display switches.
Normal. Auto.
Fuel.
11.1 tons required. 11.1 tons on board. Pumps on.
Cabin utility IFE.
On.
Emergency exit lights.
Armed.
Passenger signs.
On.
Window heat.
On.
Hydraulics.
Normal.
Air conditioning and pressurization.
Pax auto. Bleeds on set.
Pressurization mode selector.
Auto.
Instruments.
Cross check.
Auto brake.
RTO.
Speed brake lever.
Down D10.
Parking brake.
Set.
Stabilizer trim cutout switches.
Normal.
Wheel well fire warning.
Checked.
Radios, radar, and transponder.
Set and standby.
Rudder and aileron trim.
3 and 0.
Takeoff briefing.
Complete. Discussed.
PA.
Complete.
FMC CDU.
Set.
N1 and airspeed modes.
Set.
Stabilizer trim.
5 units set.
EFB.
Airplane mode and stowed.
Airplane mode and stowed. Flight deck windows and cockpit door.
Closed. Locked.
Locked. Doors.
As we go up to the overhead panel, we'll see we've got our after cargoes are still open and our forward left door. So we'll go ahead and close those. Okay, so lights are out, so doors are closed, so we can pull that final check and closed.
Before start checklist completed to the line.
So that's the before start checklist. Now we need to get the aircraft ready to push back and start our engines. So we'll get rid of the jetway on the left hand side. It's going to start moving back. Set our hydraulic pumps, A pumps are off, which they are. Doors, check, yep, no lights, so the doors are closed. We'll turn our packs off. Isolation valve, make sure that is in the open position, which it is. APU bleed is on. We'll set our anti-collision light on to inform the ground crew that we're ready to do our pushback. And then we're going to go down to the transponder. I'm going to put that in the alt off position. So now all we need to do is get the ground crew to push us back. Put that. Then we're going to go nose left. Don't want to start that. And we'll get the ground crew to disconnect the ground equipment. Cockpit to ground. Please disconnect the ground equipment.
Roger. GTO and air. Captain, GTO and air disconnected.
Below the line.
A pumps.
Off.
Air conditioning packs.
Off.
Anti-collision light.
On.
Parking brake.
Set.
Transformer.
Alt off.
Before start checklist complete.
Okay, so that completes the pre-flight phase. We're ready to push back. So we'll see you in the next video to do our pushback and engine start. Bye bye for now.